this invisible engine that basically runs our entire planet. It's a hidden world full of tiny organisms that have a truly colossal impact on everything. So, have you ever stopped to think about this? We are all passengers on what's basically Spaceship Earth. It's this self-contained vessel, right? It has a limited supply of all the essential stuff for life, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus. So after billions of years, how is it possible that we haven't just run out? Well, the answer isn't some magical, endless supply of new materials. Nope. It's all about recycling. And the planet's master recyclers? They're this unseen, totally unthanked workforce of microorganisms. They are the very engine that keeps Spaceship Earth from breaking down. To really get a handle on how they do this, we need to look at the field of microbial ecology. This is where we get to meet our planet's invisible engineers up close. So, what is it? The term actually goes way back to 1866. A guy named Ernst Haeckel called it the study of the household of nature, which is a pretty cool way to put it. But really, microbial ecology is just about understanding how these tiny organisms deal with everything around them, from the chemicals and a bit of soil to the plants and animals they live on, in, and all around. And when you're talking about this field, scale is absolutely everything. I mean, when we look out and see a forest, a microbe, which is just a few micrometers wide, it sees a totally different world. It sees the chemical landscape on a single grain of dirt. What we might measure as an average temperature in that forest is to them this huge, diverse world of different little pockets or niches. Their entire universe can exist in a space smaller than the width of one of your hairs. But if their world is so incredibly small, how did we ever discover it in the first place? Well, getting a peek into their universe took centuries of really clever technological innovation. Our journey to see them really starts in the late 1600s with Antony van Leeuwenhoek and his amazing lenses. Fast forward to the late 1800s, and you have giants like Pasteur and Koch developing the basic tools to grow and study them. Then, in the 1950s, Robert Hungate started to actually measure what they were doing out in the wild. But the real game changer, that came in the 1980s. A scientist named Norman Pace started using DNA sequencing to identify microbes directly from the environment without having to grow them in a lab. And that just blew the doors open, revealing the staggering diversity we never even knew existed. So, thanks to all those breakthroughs, we started to piece together the fundamental principles that govern this invisible world. You can think of it as, like, the microbial rulebook for running an entire planet. Okay, rule number 1, their main job is to drive the planet's huge recycling systems. They take these finite building blocks of life, think carbon locked up in a dead tree or nitrogen just hanging out in the air, and they transform them back into forms that new plants can actually use. Without them doing this constantly, the whole system would just grind to a halt. Now, I know what you're thinking. They're just microbes. How much of a presence can they really have? Well, the answer is staggering. If you were to measure all life on Earth by the weight of its carbon, microbes make up about half of all of it. Let that sink in. That's about the same as all the plants on the entire planet combined. And all animal life, from tiny insects to massive blue whales, all of us, we are just that tiny little 5% sliver of the pie. And here's the real kicker. The single largest chunk of all this microbial life isn't even on the surface. It's deep within the Earth's crust and under the oceans in places we have barely even begun to explore. It's this vast, hidden reservoir of life we know almost nothing about. So, how do they manage to live literally everywhere, from scorching deep sea vents to the soil in your backyard? The secret is their diet. I mean, compared to microbes, plants and animals are incredibly picky eaters. Microbes, on the other hand, they'll eat almost anything. So what's on the menu? How about hydrogen sulfide? The chemical that smells like rotten eggs? Yeah, they eat that. They can break down pretty much every naturally occurring organic compound and even most of the synthetic ones we've made. Some can even chow down on super tough stuff like lignin. That's the really rigid, woody part of plants. This metabolic flexibility, it is their superpower. So, when you combine all these rules, their job as catalysts, their sheer numbers, and their insane metabolism, you really start to see how these tiny titans shape the big world that we see every day.
Their day-to-day activities drive these massive environmental processes. On the one hand, they can cause those huge algal blooms in lakes from fertilizer runoff, or turn that same fertilizer into greenhouse gases. But they are also the heroes, pulling vital nitrogen out of the air for plants to use and decomposing all the dead stuff to release those essential nutrients back into the ecosystem.
And this brings us right back to our original question. Why haven't we run out of resources? It's because these microbial engineers never, ever stop working. They are the absolute heart of planetary recycling, making sure that the atoms from a dinosaur, from an ancient tree, or even from you are returned to the system to build life all over again. And you know the most exciting part of all this? We've only just scratched the surface. The huge majority of microbial life, the part hidden deep within the earth, is still a complete mystery. It's one of the greatest frontiers left in science, and it leaves us with this one really tantalizing question. What other secrets are they still hiding down there?